Today I'm going to show you one of my favourite things to do as well, embossing powder. I'll offer some tips and tricks for best results and show you loads of different examples to inspire you. Let's get to it.
Hey crafty people, it's Tasha. Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here or you just haven't already, I would love it if you could hit that subscribe button and that little bell to be notified of all my new videos. It would mean the world to me.
I pulled out a few different powders that I wanted to try this with today. Some of them are ones that I use for this method a lot. Some of them are my favourite ones to do this with, and some others are some new ones that I've not tried before that I thought could work well. So, so the first one is Black Magic. I've done it with this so many times. I love this powder. It's absolutely beautiful. It's like fine grade black powder, and then there's all these bigger chunks of gold and silver, and yeah, it's just stunning. You do need to make sure that first of all your embossing pad is nice and juicy whenever you're going to be doing a direct paper method where you are taking that embossing pad and pressing it into the paper. And it will work best if you've got a nice juicy ink pad. My embossing pad wasn't. I should have rinked it before I started, but I forgot. So I just added some more ink after I'd done this one. Now you can always go over this to get a complete covering if you want to, but I kind of like the distressed look of it, so I kept it as it is. Whenever you're embossing at all, you need to make sure that your heat gun is nice and hot before you get started. I've got like a hook that I hook mine onto. Well, technically, it's actually the arm for my camera. I hook it over there and have it warming up whilst I continue getting everything ready and embossing so that it's nice and hot. Also on these powders where you've got bigger chunk and on like glitter ones, anything like that, you're going to get the best results if you heat from behind first. So I always do that. So that's why sometimes I'm having to take it off my desk to start the heating process from behind, and then bring it back to my desk when I heat it from in front. That's just because I don't have enough clearance between my desk and my camera to get my heat gun underneath, and for you to be able to actually see. But this powder, this is Lavaburst. I've never done a full panel with it before, but I thought it would be nice, so I tried it and love it. And this was a particular favourite of my daughter as well. So that one is just a normal powder, so I just heated that straight from the front the whole time. You will need to hold on to the paper with some sort of tweezers or something of the sort, because it's going to get hot. So that's what I did, and then I just put a little bit of ink on using the re-inker and put a little bit more powder on and covered it up. It all melts back together. So there's two examples of where I cover the entire sheet and I do literally a full panel. Here I've got a sheet of buff cardstock. I think all of the colour cardstock that I use is from Paper Mill Direct, and I will have it all linked below. So yeah, I took a sheet of the buff and I pressed my ink pad into the top, and then I just used the mixed media brush tool to just brush some ink down. I quite like the sort of distressed edge that you get, and I like where you can see some of that powder. It's some of the paper, sorry, behind. So this is Perissa, which is a beautiful copper, like fine copper with really chunky silver and gold. And it is just beautiful. It's one of the first powders that I ever had actually, and I got it because of the name Perissa, because that's a little town on Santorini, where I went on holiday, and it is beautiful in Santorini, and yeah, I was just drawn to the name, and so yeah, I love how that worked. And this one I'm just scraping my ink pad over the paper. I'm really going for a really distressed kind of look, more ink towards the middle of the paper and then fading out towards each end. This is a new to me powder called 101. Obviously, black and white Dalmatians, which are kind of I think it's kind of cool. Um, both of the powders are really high grade, like they're both big chunks, so it marbles beautifully. Um, I could just do this one all the time because when you see the results that you get, oh my god, gorgeous. Um, but this is definitely one. Don't try and heat it from the front because no matter how wet you think the paper still is and how much you think that it will hold on to them, um, it won't. So definitely, yeah, start from behind. As soon as you've got those, the powders started to melt, then they've started to sort of grip onto the paper, so you can bring it round to the front then. Um, so that's what I did, and yeah, I just love how this one moves as it melts and this sort of marbles together, and you get the black and the white, and then some of it is sort of mixed together a bit more, and oh, it's just beautiful. So here we have blue cardstock, and I'm using the mixed media brush tool just to brush on some ink. Again, going for a sort of distressed edge. Um, I couldn't decide when I was putting it on which side I was going to choose as the one that stayed being the edge. But obviously, as you can see, I chose, and then I pressed my ink pad into the top half of the paper so that it would be fully covered. This is Midas Touch. I have done this before with this powder. It is just spectacular. You've got like a sort of platinum powder with chunks of sort of bit of gold and some silver running through, and then these really chunky pieces of glitter. Well, I don't know if they'd be called glitter because they are really quite chunky, um, and they don't melt the chunks. Um, what happens is the powder melts and clings onto them. Um, I wanted to cover the blue a bit more. So once I'd heated it and it let it cool down, I pressed my ink pad into the paper, and then I just added some more over the top of it, just because there wasn't that much of the actual glitter on. Um, but this was the only sheet that I covered twice, and once would have been perfectly fine. It was just my preference. I decided to do it again to get more of the glitz and glam. Like, can you see that sparkle? It's just so beautiful. Oh, I love it. I did a card very similar design to what I make with this one before. So I decided to case myself and recreate the card. So here you can see all of the panels that I made, and I turned them into cards. Now, this video would be way too long if I turned them into cards on video, so I did those separately, and then I'm going to show you all of what I made and talk about a little bit about how I did it and what I do to pads. Oh, those are two other sheets that I'd done in a previous video as well. So here, this one's Ulla's Cognac, which is one of the new Alexandra Renke powders. I did the full panel and then I cut it with a Pink Fresh Studios background dye, and the sentiment is also Pink Fresh Studios, and I just added some little white sequins, which are little things by Lucy's Cards. Next, we have the Black Magic panel. This I left as a full panel. I cut some of the leaves from the Altenew leaf mix die set that I love. I've used a million times already. Cut that out of some gold and some vellum, and then the sentiment is from another Altenew stamp set. I just quite liked the way that worked on each other. Next, this is Seth Apter Weathered Gold one. This was another of the panels that I did with a distressed bottom. I trimmed it down and then I stuck it offset onto card base, and the sentiment and sub-sentiment are both Altenew. I stacked up the Hello Die cut and slightly offset it to give myself a little bit of a white drop shadow. Next we have the Midas Touch. I left it very much so that you could see it all. An easy happy birthday die cut from Altenew, and then the two butterflies. They are X-cut die cuts. If I can find them, I will link them below. Otherwise, I will link something similar. So here's Perissa, and I used a Hello Die cut from the same buff cardstock, and the sub-sentiment, again, both are Altenew. Next, we have the Lavaburst. So this was a new thing. I'd not tried this before. After I heat embossed the panel, I ran it through my Gemini in a 3D dry embossing folder. And yeah, I love it. It's awesome. I wasn't quite sure whether it would work properly or whether it would crack, but it didn't. Went through fine, and yeah, I love it. And that's also an Altenew die cut sentiment. So there are all the cards that I made. I really hope that you have found some inspiration from one or more of them. I'd love to see what you guys make. Don't forget that we have our monthly challenge running over at WoW. This month it is Show Us Your WoW. So I've shown you my WoW, and I can't wait to see what you guys show us. We're blown away by all the submissions that we've had so far. It's just amazing. Thank you. If you've enjoyed watching the video, then please do consider liking and subscribing. Leave a comment. I love to speak to you guys. Yeah, have a lovely, happy, safe week. Stay crafty. Bye.